Hey, you need some R&R. You need some R&R. You need some R&R. You need some R&R.
Radio, randomness.
All right, we're recording. Where's Dom? I can't see Dom.
Yeah, I'm right.
Are you shy, Dom?
No, my video's on for me.
You're too close to me. I can hear you.
Let me speak more.
You gonna start off, Raven?
All right.
Give the shout out to your friend.
Oh, shout out to Blake. Yeah, shout out to Blake. Yesterday, I was at work talking about how we were going to talk about the presidential debate, and he said, you guys need to film a podcast tomorrow and drop it tomorrow. That way it's still relevant. So I told Mark, and here we are. And Dom joined us for his radical views.
I'm radical.
He's our guest political correspondent. I can't believe I didn't even think about having a short video about the debate, because I had plans on listening to it, because I had to listen to it while I was working last night. So, and I only got like bits and pieces. I mean, I got most of it, but I was at work, so I could listen to it on NPR while I was delivering. And but I didn't think that we'd really start doing the kind of election stuff until closer to the election. I was like, man, why didn't I even think about the damn debates? I'm an idiot.
Yeah, so this is the first presidential debate that I've watched the entire thing. And first off, it was just weird. Like, it reminded me of siblings bickering. Like, oh, blah, 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 you took a cookie out of the cookie jar. Well, Sarah did too. And that's how it felt towards the end of the debate. Like, they were just going back and forth. There was no professionalism whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's very, what's the word, ironic calling it a presidential debate, because there's nothing presidential.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what Joe said. But then you have Joe, who half the time, let me take off my glasses so I can properly demonstrate. Half the time, he's just like this. And it looks like he's asleep. I guess he was reading his notes or whatever. But, buddy, if people are saying that you're not all mentally there, you probably shouldn't look like you're asleep during a presidential debate. That's just my take.
That's an interesting kind of take on it, because I didn't get to see it. I only had to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
So listening to it, my perspective was Biden did a lot better than I thought he was going to do. But I couldn't see him like reading his notes or looking like he's asleep. But just listening to it and only having that to go off of, he sounded more coherent than I thought he was going to. And I could tell Trump was like trying to trip him up and make him old Sleepy Joe and like,
yeah,
kind of speak some nonsense, and people were like, what? But I didn't, at least I probably caught like 85% of it, maybe even 90%, and I never heard that. So I mean, they both kind of suck, but I was like, oh, Joe kind of did a lot better than I thought. Trump just did Trump. I mean, I knew that was going to happen.
Well, I think that's the first time that I've seen them actually, that's the first time I've fully watched Trump speak. And it kind of just reminded me of, like, the bully who's not going to let you get a word in, you know? Just
that's how it was all of 2016.
Like, really, dummy? Really, dummy? Oh, yeah, that's what you're going to say? What? That's not right.
So you didn't watch any of the 2016 ones?
No.
Like, because that's how he was even when he was going for the nomination, and so he had to talk about all the other Republican nominees, and they had all their debates and stuff. Like, every time, that's how he was, and that's just what he's used to. It's just talking over people and being a bully.
Don, what are your thoughts?
I think that works well. I thought he talked really good, actually. He's pretty sharp. I know you said that he looked like he was tired, but he was pretty quick with some stuff. Like when at one point he was talking about how one of Trump's buddies says that violence is really for Trump, and he said it was I can't remember her name, Anne. I don't know, what's her name?
Anne Conway.
Yeah.
Kellyanne Conway.
Rattled that off pretty quickly, and he wasn't 100% sure, but it was her that said it. So he was pretty sharp at most points. He just stumbled a little bit, but you gotta understand. You're sitting there talking to Donald Trump, he's currently the president, and if any of us were talking to the president, we'd be a little nervous already. And also, he doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
No. He's currently the president, but he's still Donald Trump. And if you're running for president, that's one word that I'd like to think described the performance that we got from Joe last night. You're number one on a debate, number one. So you're not going to be gentle Joe. That's not how you should be.
He's the country president, though. Like, he's not going to match Trump's energy because Trump's an asshole. Like, my point isn't.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a B.
But listen, you know who you're going up against. So if you don't want to constantly be getting talked over, getting, whatever, then you're going to put some bass in your voice.
The problem.
Alex said, you need to put some bass in your voice, Joe, because he's sitting there like a meek and feeble, but like, bro, no one wants a meek and feeble person for president.
They do. Biden supporters do. The truth of the matter is that debates are not for people who support Trump or who support Biden. That's already too late. They're for people who are undecided. And as me, somebody watching that and just hearing how, like, Trump couldn't answer questions, he was talking over the host, I would feel more inclined to vote for Biden, even though I'm already going to do that. He's not going to match Trump's energy. He could if he wanted to, and he could probably appeal to a lot of Trump supporters, but that's not what he's trying to do. His whole plan going into it was to talk to the people and not to Trump, which was hard.
He didn't get an opportunity to talk to people because he was getting
And that's the problem
over.
is, like, just like what Dom was just saying, that's a good point, because the point of the debate is, first of all, there's nothing to that wasn't a debate. That was a debacle. That wasn't a debate. There's nothing to debate about it, because the point of the debate, just like Dom just said, is you're supposed to have your plans for the issues that people care about. And for the most part, especially in this election, because I was listening to NPR before and they were talking about everything. It's like the percentage of undecided people or the people that are watching the debates to make their decision is a very extremely small window. So the point of all these debates is not really for people to decide who they're going to vote for, because for the most part, people are already decided.
Kanye,
but you're supposed to be able to, like, the presidential candidates are supposed to lay out their plans. The current president is supposed to talk about what he's done and what he's going to do. And, Biden was supposed to get a chance to kind of lay out, which he kind of did, but not really, because Trump just overtalked him. But Trump didn't say anything of detail. He just says the same old stuff.
He said.
That's the thing.
He said to the Proud Boys, stand back and stand back and stand by.
I you know what? I missed that. I didn't catch that until I was like, got home from work and I was checking Twitter and everyone was tweeting that. I was like, man, that must have been the one time I was like not in my truck. Because I didn't even hear that part.
He said
that's the thing. So in that exact statement, stand back and stand by, that reminded me, I don't know if either of you have ever seen Shameless. It's a pretty big show. I've only seen a few episodes, but one of the episodes I did watch, the dad, I think his name's Frank, hired a bunch of scary-looking white guys to go stand in front of the polls during election day so that people couldn't vote. And that's what that reminded me of. Trump's like, I don't need you yet, but I might soon, so just stand back.
Was that the same part when they said when Chris Wallace was trying to...
At the end, because the moderator asked, hey, like, will you say you won't have your people intimidate, and will you say you accept the election results? And Trump didn't say yes. He said, hey, my people will go and they'll watch the polls, make sure nothing wrong is happening. So he kind of was saying he won't, like, dissuade his base. And then Joe was like, yeah, like, simple yes, that's all it took.
So that's the same part where he told them to stand by or whatever?
Two different parts.
Because they asked Trump to denounce white supremacists, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it.
That's when he said that?
Yeah.
He said, hypothetically I could, or something like that, but he never actually did. I caught the part where he's
like, will you state that you'll accept the results and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, he wouldn't even admit to that either. And even Wallace was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do then? You're going to send your people to the streets? Like,
well, yeah, because Trump was talking about how they found ballots in like creeks and rivers, and I'm like, bro, you have people in the woods searching for shit.
no,
Like,
and see, like he takes the smallest thing, which I heard them talking about that on the afterwards on NPR, and so they were all the fact checks and stuff, and they were talking about the different, comments that each candidate made and where the facts are and if it was exaggerated or whatever. And like pretty much a lot of what Trump said is always exaggerated because he knows people. A lot of his followers will take everything he says as the Bible, and
yeah,
so he'll take the smallest fact, which that is true, that did happen. They found but it wasn't a whole lot of ballots,
I
and that
lost
wasn't
you guys.
fraud. It was an error. Hey, there's Dom.
Hey, it's me.
Of course. It wasn't fraud. It was like some error, and a few ballots were thrown out by mistake, and they were found, and it wasn't a big deal. But Trump's taking that and spinning that
Yeah.
and blowing out exaggeration because that way his followers are gonna be like, oh, it's fraud. The Democrats are a bunch of cheaters.
Yeah,
Blah
and
blah
Trump
blah blah
did.
blah.
He was like, fraud, fraud, fraud. He was just yelling it out. But one of my favorite parts, and I actually tweeted about it when they were talking about the ecosystem, the climate, and all that. Trump is like, we're gonna have crystal clean water that you can drink from the creek, and we need forest management because I was talking to there's a governor in Europe. Okay, there's probably a lot of governors in Europe. There's a governor in Europe I would talk to. He runs a forest
And
town.
tree cities. They have these tree cities. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, guys, Trump's hiring Brita to make us a giant-ass Brita filter to purify all the water, and then we're going to have Smokey the Bear managing all our forest cities. Like, bro.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
That's like the most cliche. That's like the most cliche answer. Trump's solution is going to be like the guy from Lorax who's selling cans of air,
And it still doesn't even answer the question about climate change. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure some of it is science. I believe that. But he keeps. A while ago, he was talking about how it was the forest management's problem because they didn't rake or they didn't sweep the forest enough to make the fire not happen.
Yeah, he's like, you can walk into the forest and drop a cigarette and the world will ignite. And I'm like,
the yearly fires of California, he said, yearly.
But yeah, it's funny to laugh about it, but there's people like who are actually dealing with that, who have to uproot their lives all the time because your government can't control or put a better system into place to not catch shit on fire.
You say that I would. That's also the sad part. It's a pretty good amount of people who are probably also going to vote for Trump who currently have their house burned down due to climate change.
Yeah.
Well, it's because Trump isn't just one thing. Like, there's people who vote for Trump because of the money. There's people who say, oh, your stimulus check, did you use that? Did you get that? Oh, you did? Did you use all the money yet?
Well,
you can thank Trump for that. Because without Trump, that wouldn't have happened. Okay.
Yeah, but Biden's one thing, too. You heard him. He said, I am the Democrat Party. That's what he said. He's one thing. And honestly, it doesn't really matter at this point because, like, the other people were saying the entire time was, like, to Trump's base, he was just using dog whistles the entire time. Like, using words that an idiot won't know, but will appeal to his base. Like, because Joe Biden called him racist, and Trump wasn't really defending himself in any kind of good way. He wasn't like, hey, come on, I'm not racist. He was just kind of taking it.
Joe Biden did denounce Black Lives Matter, though.
He didn't denounce Black Lives Matter.
And another thing that I saw was that when they were talking about defund the police, and I think this may get Joe. This might be the thing that gets Joe. Joe said that he doesn't believe in defunding the police. He wants like a reevaluation, which I agree with. I do agree with that. But also then you have him asleep at the stand, quote unquote, and I'm just like, and Dom is one of those people whose argument is anyone that isn't Trump is better, but also, okay, that's fine, but I need to see some debates with Kamala, whatever.
That's next week.
Right, and you also got to think, like, you're saying that he denounced the Black Lives Matter, which isn't true, is not what he said. But Trump, for a fact, does not like Black Lives Matter. He thinks they're radical terrorists like Antifa and all the rest. So while Biden may have not said the correct thing and may not be as on board as some people like, Trump straight up doesn't like them. So it's not like he has an edge in the Black Lives Matter community, because Trump really doesn't like them.
I guess. But, like, that's the thing. It sucks. It's so horrible that we have to pick between these two people, because I was listening to Joe Rogan, of course, and he's like, the reason that these are our nominees is because no one else wants to run for president. They don't want their skeletons out of the closet. Because when you run for president, everything is exposed. Speaking
of the skeleton thing, I think Joe he super good at one point in the talking show. You know, Trump kept trying to bring up his kid, and at one point was saying that he was dishonorably discharged from the military, and he didn't try to throw it underneath the rug. Biden said, yes, like millions of Americans, my son had an addiction, and he fought it, and he got over it. And I think that was a really strong point to make, because that's kind of hard to bring up drug abuse on air about your family, because a lot of politicians would be like, no, it's not true. And he brought it up, and he was trying to appeal, because basically what Trump was saying was that your son's a drug addict, he's useless, and Joe was trying to say millions of Americans are drug addicts are good.
And that's a good point, because he said that both his sons, because when you could tell he's starting to get emotional when he talked about the other one that had passed away now. He brought up how Trump says, you know, you're sitting there saying that you know, military servicemen are losers if they do that. You know, he's like, that's, and you know, brought up his son, talking about his son that has passed away, and started getting emotional. And he's like, oh, I don't know that son. I'm talking about the drug addicted.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
I was like, Trump, you're such an asshole, man.
Disrespectful. So disrespectful. Like, it's just.
It's not presidential. That's all that matters. Like, I don't know how anybody can be like, oh yeah.
Like, they should change it to two old guys talking back and forth, and not the presidential debate.
Yeah, there was no debate. And then the one thing you just said about, like, nobody wants to run for president, I mean, that's not entirely true, because each time when whatever party is, like, not in the office currently, like, look how many Democrats were running for office, and then they narrow it down. But a lot of that is, like, kind of controlled by the party, because the Democrat Party, as popular as, like, Bernie Sanders was, or, you know, the others, they don't want people like that. So they influence a little bit of that to get Biden or whoever their, you know, ultimate pick is.
Guys, Mark's at a car dealership, so ignore the car alarm.
So it's like, I mean, I don't think it's a matter of people don't want to run for president. I think it's a matter of, like, you're forced to the point of, like, if either one of us wanted to run for president, you're forced to go through the entire process. If you don't get picked by one of the parties, then your chances of getting elected at that point are you know, pretty much nil.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the whole process is just, then you have to deal with electoral college and not just the popular vote, and there's too many factors, and that's what I was saying in one of our last episodes, that I don't always feel, I mean, I do and I don't, but there are parts of me that don't 100% believe that my vote even matters.
I agree.
Dangerous thinking. I know it's easy to think like that because of the current administration, but, like, the thing is, you're probably still going to go out and vote, and so is Raven, but there's people who think that, and then they don't vote, and then it ends up needing that vote to happen. Obviously, ideally, it would be completely fair. Even Trump, on, like, just on the debate, he still is announcing mail-in ballots, even though it's the safest, and like Biden said, there's been almost no proof of fraud's happening. People who get discouraged from voting, because that's one of the biggest things. A lot more people are voting this time, but there's also a lot of undecided voters. People like myself who are new and interested and don't have all the information are going to vote this year. And if they get discouraged and they think their vote won't count, then it's at this point, if you don't vote, you're voting for Trump because he's the current administration. That's how it works. I don't think there's too many people who are now, after 4 years, jumping on the Trump wagon. I feel like they would have felt how good he was from years ago.
I think there are people, like, you're right. That's a good point. There are people that voted for Trump last time that aren't aren't really liking what he's done so far or how he is that are like rethinking.
Do you know any of those people?
Yeah. I'm one of those people.
Oh my God, what? Shock, gasp.
I'm one of those people. I voted for Trump.
That's a beautiful thing. It's also on the other side. For example,
but that's what happens if you're not like a blind party follower and you follow the issues and follow the candidates and make a decision for yourself and not just like I'm gonna vote for Biden because he's a Democrat and
exactly.
I tend to lean Republican on most of the issues, but I'm an independent thinker and I'm not gonna vote for Trump just because he's a Republican candidate, because I gave him a shot. I didn't like him or Hillary in 2016. But I was like, to me, he was just one slightly bit better than Hillary. So I was like, well, I'll give him a chance. Who knows? Maybe he'll have somebody in his camp that will control his Twitter or control how he comes across. So and that's the crazy thing is if he did just stay off of Twitter or had somebody or listen to people that were trying to kind of help his image, he would have a lot more support than he does. Because people wouldn't see that. But he can't do that. He's got to be himself, and he's just a piece of shit. So I'm like, I'm just like, I'm not gonna vote for him again.
I don't know. I feel like his focus, when Biden said, "You don't care about the people," like this guy doesn't care about the people. He cares about money, and he said, "Yes, I do care about money, but money makes people's lives easier." Like I feel that makes sense.
It makes
but also on the same hand, you have to do something else, like bringing back up the stimulus check. That's people's main argument on why Trump is good. Okay, the stimulus check during a crisis, the first thing in 4 years that actually affected the regular people. Like, I don't think that's a valid reason to be like Trump is a god, because that's how Trump supporters feel. Trump is a god.
I mean, they also act like he personally signed the stimulus out of his own bank account, so I don't know why people
And that's because his signature was on some of the actual
It was a team effort. I don't even think he was. I think a Democrat suggested in the first place. So, but unfortunately, he's the president. He gets all the credit for it. But I don't know. Let's listen to the dude. Like, I want that dude to be president, because one of the biggest things is that if you're the leader of the free world, you have to be able to fucking parlay with other leaders. And if you talk over your competitors, talk over your mediators, you talk over your friends, I don't understand how you think that's good. We pull out of the peace accord, we pull out of other good trade deals. I guess we have the Iran peace in the middle.
Accord. What?
Peace accord.
Yeah.
Paris Accord?
My goodness. No, peace accord. But I don't know. He does what he wants. Hopefully, it doesn't keep going on. I know that a lot of people don't have faith in Biden because they think he's old, but I don't know how. If I had to sit on stage and just say whatever came to the top of my head immediately, I could also do it super fast. I don't have to think and process what I'm going to say to defend my point. I just start talking. At one point, he was talking about, the host asked him about racial injustice, and he wasn't like, "Oh, I'm sorry, black people have it tough." He started talking about the police. I was like,
what was that about? I got rid of the racial sensitivity training because it was racist.
He said it was racist. He said they were treating black people too good. Knock it off.
I was like, Jesus Christ. I could.
It's funny. People vote for him. My friend's dad's Cuban. He's from Cuba, and he's not even a fully legal immigrant. And if Trump had it, he would be immigrated. But he's all for Trump because they think Democrat is liberal, liberal is socialist. Cuba was socialist. I don't want to be in Cuba again. So they start voting. These people don't think about the whole issues a lot of times. They think about these one things that might affect them.
Well,
they get stuck on one thing.
Can he even vote?
No,
why does it matter?
Because he can tell his friends and family that are legal immigrants that can vote to vote
he can influence them. And that happens a lot too, because I thought about that when you said if you don't vote, that's a vote for Trump, because that's, and I mentioned this to Raven previously, is when people say that kind of, I get what they're saying, but it kind of bothers me, because in 2016, I didn't decide to vote until election day, and then I went and voted because I was so on the fence. I was like, I couldn't I couldn't decide which one was slightly better than the other.
Yeah.
And I was so torn, and I was worried that, I don't want to make a vote. I'm low on battery, got down to 20%. But it's like, I don't want to make a vote and then live to regret it. So it's like, I kept telling my family, I'm not going to vote. I don't know who to vote for, so I'm just not going to do it. And my family's very divided. And so the people that were voting for Hillary would tell me, if you don't vote, that's a vote for Trump. I was like, you're making the assumption that I would vote for Hillary because you are. And then, yeah, I know, but I'm telling Dom. And so, and it would happen the opposite way too. If you don't vote, that's a vote for Trump. I was like, you're making the assumption that I'm going to vote for who you're going to vote for. It's like, I never said that.
I agree on a general election, that's correct. But the way it's set up now, I think they only need, for example, 23% of the popular vote for Donald Trump to win again. So that's what I mean by if you don't vote, you vote for Trump, because they don't need the majority like they needed last time. They need an amount to get through. 20%.
Well, that's the thing. And then you have people like me who are voting for Kanye, and it's like,
vote for Trump.
I think, a vote for Kanye is a vote for Trump for sure.
I don't agree.
Well, first, I mean, even not considering that Trump gave Kanye a lot of money for his businesses, which is kind of like a bribe in the first place.
Is that factual?
Yeah.
I need the receipts because I don't believe you.
You're welcome to look it up. We can get a fact checker on here for the next debate. But he got small business loans for some of his businesses. Like you're welcome to look it up. Either way, that's also with the undecided because Kanye is for Trump. I know he denounced it a little bit at some point, but the thing about Trump supporters is they hear the first good thing about what they like and they stick to it. If they hear anything else bad later, that doesn't matter. The first good thing is good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you guys should check out, I'll link it in the description when I post this later today, but it's a website, it's called 538.com, and it's called 538 because that's the number of electoral votes, 538, but it's 538.com, and it really took off in 2008, I think, when it was Obama and McCain, and ever since then I followed it like every election. They do other, it was like these guys computer guys and mathematicians and stuff that they write all these algorithms and predictions and stuff. And they used to, at that time they were really doing like sporting, sports and predicting who was going to win what. But then they tried it out on politics and they pretty much predicted the 2008 election and the one after that. The only one that they've ever gotten wrong, which really I think 95% of America, in my opinion, got wrong, was predicting that Hillary was going to win. And they said that too. And now, like, I still check their website because it gives me a little bit of comfort to kind of see where things are leaning. They take into account like polls and, I haven't checked it since the debate, but they'll take that into account too. But right now, so they changed their wordage. Instead of predicting that like Biden will win, last time I checked, they say Biden is favored to win because after the last election, it was like they don't want to use predicted anymore because they got that one wrong, I guess. But
so another thing that brings up a lack of willingness to vote is you feel like even if Biden does win, there's going to be a lot more violence because those supporters aren't going to take that sitting down. It's not going to be like, okay, he won. We'll go back into our little, racist caves. Like, and not every single Trump supporter is racist, which is something that people have to realize. But, like, what's going to happen? You can make that face, but not every single Trump supporter is racist.
That's true.
We have Trump supporters in our family, do we not? And are they racist? I don't think so.
Some of them definitely are very.
But the thing is too is like because I identify with that. Not every Trump supporter is racist. I wouldn't call myself a Trump supporter, but I did vote for him, and I'm not racist. But and that was kind of like a painful thing for me, even when I voted for him, because I believe he is, and I believe a whole lot of his supporters are. And that when you vote for him, even though you're not racist, you're
That's your
You're
viewpoint
turning a
now.
blind eye
Mhm,
to that.
to the racism.
Yes.
That's so crazy. Like, oh, he's really good at all of his domestic policies, but he kind of is racist. What a weird thought of the president. Like,
I mean, and if there was any doubt,
Buddy,
he literally said last night, "I got rid of racial sensitivity training because it was racist."
I know,
I mean,
and he wouldn't shut up the whole time, but then he said, "Hey, will you denounce white supremacy?" And he was like,
and it's like, and I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but if I don't laugh, I'll cry because it's so damn sad. Like, it's sad that this man is the president of the United States.
Yeah, you start to think, is he that good at talking, or is just that many people in the states really got that kind of mindset, like the bully, racist?
And
and that's the thing. I don't think, like, I remember when Trump, like, the day after the election, I was working at Dunkin' at the time. I went into Dunkin', and I was working with a bunch of, like, immigrants, people from Morocco, not Puerto Rico, what's the other one? Colombia, like, all those places. And they were just sad because they were expecting, like, the worst of the worst, like ICE was going to come in that day and take them back to their country. But though that did happen to an extent, I feel like I was expecting something much worse.
Well, I'm sure if he had executive power over everything, that stuff might have gone down, but there's only so much he can do.
Yeah.
Right when he got elected, he didn't hold majority in 2 different houses, so it wasn't like he had all the power.
And that's any president. They can make all these, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but what they can get done is a whole different thing when they're president, even, because there's only so much you can do.
Right, like with the justice elect, with the nominee, which is, honestly, it's the one thing I agreed on with Trump. Trump was like, hey, if you guys were in office right now, you'd be doing the same thing. You'd be trying to push justice through just like you did 4 years ago. So, like, it's the same thing. And he's right. Politicians all around are dirty, but
yeah,
my biggest thing is that people are like, well, why do you like Biden just because he's not Trump? Like, we've had 4 years of Trump. I know, I've seen what he can do. Personally, he hasn't benefited me that much. If I'm being selfish, he hasn't benefited me that much. For my country, he really hasn't done that much either. For my people, definitely not. So, at least, I don't know. It's like being like, well, I've been eating a shit sandwich for 4 years. Do I want to keep eating that shit sandwich, or do I want to fucking see what's
try
in the
a different shit sandwich?
It could be 2 shit sandwiches. Who knows? But it's not.
My thing is, like, and what kind of, I was a little bit more confident in leaning towards Biden when, a lot of it was going to depend on who he picked as a vice president. Because my thing is, like, there should be an age limit on how old you can be before you're running for president. I think Trump's already too old. Biden's older than that. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, do you know what kind of pressure it takes and you want to be 80 years old doing this shit? Like, you need to be an age limit. So I really had a genuine concerns. Like, well, if we elect Biden and he keels over, like, who's going to take his place? So it depends on who he picks as his candidate. And I don't know a whole lot about Harris yet.
No.
I know some, but not a whole lot. So I'm really interested in watching that debate next week. And we'll talk
Harris
again. But
Pence, right?
Yeah, it'd be her and Pence. Yeah, which should be a lot better because I don't like Pence as much as I like Trump. But at least the few times I've heard Pence talk, he's much more respectful than Trump is. So I think
But Pence is the one who wanted to send people to conversion camps, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and that's a scary thing. Like, with Pence, you have a whole different kind of, like, professionalism and how he carries himself, and he's very vice presidential, but he's extremely religious. So, like, if he was president, the stuff that he says he would do is just like, and that's what scares some people of, I've heard, actually, I don't want to mention it, but, like, oh, if something happened to Trump, that scares even the people that hate Trump, because Pence scares them even more.
Yeah.
Because although he carries himself a whole lot better, he's a lot more extreme than Trump in some cases.
Yeah, it would be like Handmaid's Tale, but, like, in real life.
So,
you know what that is?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is
It's
either.
like this TV show where, like, all the women get their assets frozen, and then basically, like, they have to become, like, these maids for, like, high up people. And if those people's wives can't have kids, then, like, they have sex with the maid, and then the maid is, like, it's like a whole thing.
That might, that might actually happen. I know that. I think what I remember is that the justice they're supporting was part of a church group who was all about the men power and the women being just like subservient to them. And I'm sure they love that. I know I would bet money that they're just going to try and overturn a lot of stuff if she got in, like the Roe versus Wade and stuff like that. Because
wait, okay, so what is that?
the abortion rights.
Oh.
Hey, I'm going down to like 5%. So if my battery dies, but y'all are talking, y'all can keep going. But
no, let's just end it because I don't want to lose the recording.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, and if we have more thoughts and stuff, just write them down. We'll pick them up after next week because I'm sure we'll do this again after the vice president debate.
All right. Good
All
talk.
Right.
Thanks for having
talk. Hey, yeah, you're welcome back next week, Dom.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Why are you making that face?
That's my president's face.
All right, guys. Peace.
All right. Peace.